Hey guys, it's Miss Leone here, and today I'm going to be demonstrating 6 ways to create the illusion of space. Space is an element of art used by artists to create an illusion of depth and space in their art. You will be creating this illusion of space using the 6 techniques that I'm about to show you. So here we go. So what you need for this activity is a piece of paper, a well-sharpened pencil, and a straight edge or ruler. In this case, I'm going to be using this business card because I don't know where my ruler is, and that's okay because we have a lot of stuff available to us every day that has a straight edge, so we'll make do with what we have. So the first thing we're going to do is label our paper 6 ways to create the illusion of space. Alright, and then I like to underline it and put your name, not mine, in the corner. Once you do that, we're going to be taking your straight edge, or in this case I'm using a business card, but you can also use like an ID card or something. It's about 2 by 3 inches if you are measuring it though with a ruler. So I'm going to be not too far from the edge of the paper because I want to make sure that I can get 3 traced in this row. So just make sure when you're tracing that you're holding down the edges of whatever you're tracing well so it doesn't move on you. So that's 1. I'm going to put this one kind of close, not touching, but close enough. 2. And 3 over here. All right, and I actually spread them out pretty good. None of my shapes are going off the page. If you leave too much space, you're going to end up not having enough room. So just maybe measure ahead of time to make sure they fit. So this is 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. So below, I'm going to leave some space because we are going to be adding definitions to each technique as well. So we want to make sure we have room to write them. So again, make sure when you're tracing that you are pressing down firmly on whatever you're tracing so it doesn't move on you. So that's number 4. Number 5. Finally, number 6. So I always like to trace or make whatever I'm doing ahead of time. That way we can just worry about filling these in. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Alright, so let's begin. So I'm going to just keep this card near me because I am going to use it again. Okay, so the first technique that we are going to be learning about is called overlap. An overlap is when one object appears to be behind another. So we're just going to write that there. One object appears to be behind another. So notice how the word appears is there. We're creating an illusion. This is 2-dimensional. It's not really, but by drawing it, it will look like that. So I'm making a circle, and then to make this circle overlap another, I'm going to be drawing a second circle, but not the whole thing, and then a third circle. So you can see that this object is overlapping this second object, and this object is overlapping that object. I'm just going to go in using my business card here, and starting with the outer edge of the object on the right, I'm extending a line, and then on the left, so you notice that I did not draw through it, and we have a sense of overlapping happening. Alright, so that's overlap. The next one is shading. So shading also creates an illusion of space. So light and shadow create that illusion of form in space. Light and shadow create the illusion of form and space. So let's see what that looks like. So again, everything we're starting with today is all circles. So I'm making a circle, then I'm using my little business card here, and I'm from the left side of the object, I'm making a line to the end, and on the right side, all the way that way. All right, so now we've started. So how do we add shading? First, we have to identify a light source. So I'm just going to put this little sun in the corner. That's going to be my light source. I'm just going to label it, since this is just the beginning, so I don't forget. It's okay if it's not perfect. We're just doing our best here. So to do that, we're using the gradation technique. So you're going to lay your pencil down, you're going to pinch it, pick it up, and we're going to use the side of it. So because the light is coming from the right side, that means that the lightest area will be on the right side of this circle. So I'm going to be following the shape of the form, which is curved. I'm going to be making light gradation shading on one side. Then when I get towards the bottom, I'm just going to press a little harder. So it's all about the pressure here, making a few layers. So I have light turning into medium, turning into the highlight. And then I'm going to be adding my cast shadow here. And I'm just going to try to make it kind of round. We don't really need to see the definition of it, just so it's there. So again, dark, medium, turning into light. And that's how light and shadow create the illusion of form in space. Next is placement. So placement has to do with objects that are higher on the picture appear to be in the distance. So objects higher in the picture appear to be in the distance. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So here, we're going to make them all the same size right now. I'm going to put one circle here, another one here, another one here, another one here, and then finally one all the way up here. Then I'm going to be taking my card. So by adding this little background line, little horizon line, makes it have like a sense of placement as well. And then from there, we can just go in and add. So again, my little light source, I'm imagining it the same way as that on the right side. So I'm just adding little shadow on the side, and then I'm going to add actually the cast shadow, which is going to be very light, just to give it an illusion. I'm just doing it really quickly so it's opposite. So the cast shadow is always going to be opposite of where the highlight is. And there we go. So that's placement. Next is size. So size has to do with if objects are the same size, the distant ones will look smaller. So let's just write that down. If objects are the same size, the distant ones look smaller. So let's see what that looks like here. So we're building. It's not just about placement, it's about if they're actually far away, it would get smaller. And this makes it feel like really far away. So I'm going to start with one little circle all the way back there. The next one, I'm going to make a little bigger, so as I move forward, they're going to be getting bigger. Then I'm going to draw another one that's even bigger than that. Then I'm going to draw one that's even bigger than that. And then finally, I'm going to have one coming off the edge of the page, so it's really big. And I'm going to take my card, make my little background line here. So you always want to make the background line it should not be below an object because then it just looks like it's floating in space. So by having it kind of where the object is, like right behind it, it gives it that illusion that it's in front of whatever's in the back. And then I can go in, add a little shading. I'm just sticking to this light source being on the right side. That means all the shading is on the left. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just giving an illusion right now. And then this one, since it's getting cut off, the shading, you won't see the whole object. You're not going to see all the shading. And then you can just go in, add little cast shadows. So depending on the size of your objects, the cast shadow will start to get bigger as it moves to the front. And then this one, we really don't see any cast shadow, so I'm not going to add one. So there we go, size. If objects are the same size, the distant ones will look smaller, and they'll also be higher on the page, like placement. So these kind of are starting to get connected. And we're adding shading, so that's also getting connected. So everything is building. All right, the fifth one we're going to be learning about is value and focus. Value and focus. So light value and less detail suggest distant objects. So what that means is when it's getting farther away in the distance, it's going to get lighter because it's not as close to us. So light value and less detail suggest a distant object. So make sure you're writing all these definitions down. Remember, everything that we're doing is meant to be a reference. You can look back on it in years to come when you're doing other art. So now I'm going to start with making a circle. So we're actually turning these circles into spheres. Then I'm going to make, so I use kind of like a darker pressure, more pressure to make it darker. The next one, I'm going to put one over here. I'm going to draw it a little lighter. Then I'm going to have another one back here, even lighter. And then I put a little lonely guy back here, all the way in the back. Very lonely. It's okay. And then I'm going to add my little background. So remember, make sure that the background is not below the object, because again, it will look like it's floating in space. And there we go. And now it's time for the shading. So here, using the gradation, so again, the side of the pencil, I'm going to be following the curve. Again, my light source, it's just for this whole thing, the light source is on the same side. So I'm going to be pressing, because I want this one to be the darkest one. It's the closest to us. So remember, if the highlight is on the right, the shadow's on the left. It's always opposite. Okay, so I'm going to make that one nice and dark, has a lot of contrast. The second one, I'm going to make it a medium. So if you're thinking back to your gradation value scales, dark, medium, light, that's kind of what we're going for here. Dark, medium, then this one's going to be really light. And then this one's just going to be super light. And I can add like a really light little cast shadow here. This one we don't see the cast shadow because it's technically behind this, since this one is overlapping. So we also have overlapping here, right? This one is overlapping this one is overlapping that one. This has nothing overlapping it because it's by itself. So that is value and focus. Finally, we have linear perspective. So linear perspective, that's when parallel lines and edges seem to go towards a vanishing point. So kind of like if you're crossing a street in the city and you look down from the yellow lines and everything, even though we know that the sides of the road and the sidewalk, it is really evenly spaced, but as it gets farther away, it almost looks like it's converging into a vanishing point. So let's just write that. So parallel lines and edges, so it could be lines or it could be edges of shapes, seem to go towards a vanishing point. All right, a vanishing point. So let's see what that looks like. So this is just very brief. Linear perspective is a whole nother art in itself. We're not going to go into that in depth, but this is just a basic overview. So we have, I'm using my card, I'm making my little horizon line, right, my horizontal line now. In this case, it is a horizon line. Then I'm going to be making a little vanishing point, just putting a little dot there. Then from there, I'm going to be lining up one edge of my card with the vanishing point and one edge, like on the lower portion. Okay, see how it's connecting? Then I'm going to connect the edge of my business card or hard edge. I'm going to be connecting it. So this is where you have to be really careful. It's connecting to the dot. We can see it's connecting. And it's going to go out like that. So you can see how it kind of looks like a road, right? Or a sidewalk, a path, but it's all converging. These are the convergence lines, but they're getting skinnier and meeting it there. So then we can just start. I'm going to add a little circle here. You can see I'm keeping it within the two lines. Then I'm going to add another circle here, staying inside of the lines, so they're getting bigger as they're moving forward. Okay, and then finally maybe I'll add one right here, but we don't see the rest of it. Then you can go in and just add your little shading. Nothing special, just having one side, make sure you're curving. It's okay. So some of my circles here are going to look like ovals, but that's okay. We get the idea. And then here. Then I'm just going to add my little cast shadows. This one's coming off the page. This one will be right here. And then I'll add a little one here. So those are the 6 ways to create the illusion of space. Overlapping, one object appears to be behind another. Shading, light and shadow create the illusion of form and space. Placement, objects higher in the picture appear to be in the distance when they're higher up. Size, if objects are the same size, the distant ones look smaller. Value and focus, light value and less detail suggest a distant object, so when they get lighter, they look more farther